couple fish. Caesar was like getting pissed off too, and like Chuck set the boat up for the drift, and he's like, wouldn't it be amazing if all 5 rods went and we just got 5 right now? And wouldn't you know it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like they just went 5 fish on that drift. Like Chuck called it perfectly. He's in the middle of the boat, banging on the boat with a pool cue. Am I allowed to say that?
I don't know.
Oh, shit. Hello and welcome to episode number 55 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago. As always, my partner, Chris Pereira.
Cheers.
Beautiful. Awesome. Tonight's show is quite boring. We fished with Jerry Pastorino and Chuck Manny within 5 days apart of each other, so we don't have that much to talk about.
Well, I mean, the striper fishing, we didn't even get any keepers.
That's true. This may be a boring episode. It's been an unbelievable week. I'm still floating in the clouds. I can't even. It's unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. It's just I can't describe it. It was unbelievable. Both trips, absolutely amazing.
Well, why don't you start with the Fishmonger trip?
Okay.
It's the last day of tog season.
Last day of tog season, we got to go on the Fishmonger, finally got on that boat. We have been pestering the shit out of that captain relentlessly. If I released the chat log with him, it'd be worth a fortune because it's just hilarious. So we finally got on deck. The Fishmonger, it felt just amazing just to step onto the boat, the legend around the boat. I mean, we're the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. We bleed New Jersey. Jerry Pastorino is just considered a legend in Jersey. The Fishmonger is a staple of New Jersey bottom fishing. It was unbelievable, overwhelming. The fishing didn't even matter to me. I mean, obviously, it would have been great if I would have had like a better day of fishing, but it was going to be a win from the minute that I just got to be on the boat.
Well, and I think that's, and I posted this, and I'm just going to say it again because there's no other way to put it really. I think it says even more about, Jerry and his mates. We had Jesse there with us. It says more about them on a day that the fishing wasn't great. It was way under what he expects every time he goes out, right? Every time he goes out, he thinks that he can limit the boat, and that's how he fishes. And a lot of times he does or comes close. I mean, he's hands down one of the best, if not the best.
When I'll be perfectly honest, I was extremely intimidated and uncomfortable.
It showed.
I had a conversation with Frank Mihalik about it the other day because I made a comment about like, sometimes I get intimidated around the big guys, and Frank was like, "Oh, whoa, we're not big guys, we're normal, just like you." And I'm like, "Well, you might be normal like me, but I don't have 30 blackfish over 20 pounds like." or whatever. So those guys sometimes don't see the way that guys like us see them. They don't want to be seen that way. They just want to kind of like be normal guys. But we have a tendency to kind of look at them like, holy shit, that's Jerry Pastorino. Like if that's how.
Don't put me in the same boat with you. You had like fanboy eyes on it. It was weird.
No. I didn't do that shit. But I'm just saying, there's bullshit. Ask him. He'll tell you. That's not true at all.
It's all on video.
There's no video of me acting like a fanboy. I'm just
You're
saying
all
it's in.
nervous, and you had, oh, let me get a, I got to drink, I got to get a little drink in me so I
No,
can
I
shake
didn't
my
say
nerves
that's
up.
made up bullshit. Get out of here. Jerry Zagorski was on board. He'll vouch that all this shit's not true.
He saw it.
Uh,
It's all on video.
we
Anyway,
got to see him. The most amazing thing, sitting on that boat, watching him work the helm. He doesn't leave the helm. He controlling that boat the entire time. He caught a keeper out the window. He was like fishing out the window while controlling the boat, holding anchor. He caught a keeper blackfish.
yeah,
Uh,
he outfished like 3/4 of our crew from his
yeah,
window.
he did while driving the boat. It's just I told, and then like I walked up to him and I'm like, Jerry, how old are you? And oh, I'm 41. Like 41. Like most of the time, you kind of meet these old salty dogs that you hear all these stories about. They're kind of older, They're in their 60s, 70s. This guy's 40. Like he's got the reputation of a captain that's been around forever. Like so, yeah, I was a little intimidated by it. I wanted to do good. I hooked a lot of fish. I just couldn't get a keeper. But he told me as soon as I stepped on the boat, he was honest. I shook his hand. I met him, and he said, it's been tough. I'm not gonna bullshit you. It hasn't been good. And I told him, I said, I don't really fucking care. Let's fish. I didn't care at all. Let's go. He was honest, so he told me. So I kind of had it in my head. It was gonna be rough. I didn't say that out loud to anyone because I didn't want to discourage anyone, but yeah, he was honest.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, I don't, not a single person on that crew fishing that day was disappointed at all
Not
with
one
the day.
complaint.
And that's what says more about, like, anyone can go out, any captain can bring you out and the fish are chewing their heads off and everyone's catching keeper fish and this, that, and the other thing. Anyone can be happy after that. To have every single person on that boat have it a blast the whole time, had a good time, and happy as hell, and can't wait to come back again another time. And the fishing wasn't even that great. I mean, the short action was pretty decent, I'd say. But
There was the short life. Ken Lazurchek had like he had like 28 blackfish. I think he was counting.
yeah,
Uh, he had like 28. A lot of he was on them good. And he was using like a rig I've never seen. He called the Mohawk rig that he was taught by like somebody from the Mohawk. But he didn't. I don't know if he got a keeper or not, but he's ranted and raved. Like you said, I think 75% of us, me being one, didn't get a keeper. But I loved it, and everyone that was on it, we've been talking about it, and I hope we get to go on that date again next year. It was great.
dude. I mean, plenty of big sea bass that unfortunately, you can't keep yet. But Katie caught her biggest sea bass ever. Nice,
Sea bass was
whatever it was,
huge.
21 and
Can
some
we
change.
can we pop a picture of that up? The sea
Yeah,
bass.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, big, nice sea bass. Looked like it was either wedged into something that I got pulled out of, or something bit it at some point. It had like scrape marks on the side that you could see. But yeah, she caught plenty of blackfish that weren't big enough to keep, but the action was there, and some nice sea bass. Bunch of ling caught. No, I mean, absolutely
What
no.
did Max catch? Max caught something too.
Oh, Max caught a pollock.
Oh, a pollock. Yeah, Max caught a pollock.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We had some skates. I posted a video of Nick with a skate that he was telling me was a blackfish the whole time he's reeling it in. The video's pretty. It's like it's a blackfish. It's like,
Yeah, the skates and the dogfish kind of started pestering us at the end
I
there.
didn't see a dogfish. Did anybody? I didn't see it. I heard people like saying dogfish. I didn't see one.
Yeah, I didn't catch any. I did catch a skate towards the end that I thought, for a couple of seconds, I thought was really going to be a big blackfish, just because of the way it was it was freaking nibbling. And then I set the hook, and it was so much weight like thumping back down, and then it just started They curl. They feel like a blackfish at first for a couple of seconds or two, and then they just curl up into like a parachute and just fucking drag up in the water, spinning, and then you just know you're screwed.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But yeah, we appreciate that, and thank you to Captain Jerry Pastorino for giving us the opportunity. Hopefully, he gets us a fluke spot somehow.
Oh, God, we begging him for a fluke spot,
Yeah,
but
well,
he's full. But maybe an entire crew of people will, have to bail.
I message him. I message him the most bizarre shit because it's impossible to get his attention. So I'll keep messaging him the weirdest shit ever until he answers and gives me a fluke date.
We were basically just having a conversation between ourselves, you and I, and he was just watching it, probably laughing his ass off, ignoring us. And then one day he's just like, I got a spot for you guys.
Moving on, the Knee Deep Club had a tournament walleye contest from Saturday and Sunday. Our own Max, our mustache Mad Bass Max. That's a tongue twister. Came in third place, making us so proud. Eddie Mackin came in fourth place. I know that, but Max Kellerman was in third.
Well, they're fishing together, so Mackin probably let him have that fish.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it, Mackin. What do we got for second and first?
Oh, you don't have the rest of the results?
I do not. I can't. Where'd you find it?
It's on. Okay. So it's on the Knee Deep Club website, but like as we've said before, this website looks like, I mean, no offense to whoever's making this website, but it needs to be updated. It's similar to a website that I made in high school on Angel Fire. Like, it's got the little blue links listed, and you guys try to get in, and then you hit the wrong one, and then you got to go back.
All right, well, we get that the website is kind of outdated, but why aren't the results at least on the Facebook? What are the results? I don't even know who's in charge of Knee Deep Club. Like, who is, like, I have no idea. I just pay the membership.
I don't know. I didn't even pay the membership. I made the same statement that I made for the Round Valley Trout Association. I said, now that you guys have it digitally, here's my money. Knee Deep Club has to do the same thing. Guys are not joining this club because it's a pain in the ass to do so.
Yeah, like the walleye contest. Like I have to drive to Dow's like just to sign up. It's just
no. I couldn't sign up, and then we ended up. We'll get into it, but we ended up getting a last minute invite to go striper fishing with Chuck Manny. So I mean, that's what I did. But if I could have signed up online, I would have already been signed up. We would have been committed to it, maybe. Anyway,
I to it. I gave it up anyway. It's a donation.
Anyway, first place. I'm gonna try to pronounce the name. I've seen this name before. That they're on the leaderboard a lot. They obviously know what they're doing over there in Lake Opagon. Jack Desigic.
Yeah, I've seen it. I can't say that name, but I've seen the name before. And is Gatos in second?
Yeah, Rob Gatos is in second. And then
Max Kellerman.
A relative. Yeah, Max Kellerman is in third. Eddie Mackin in fourth. And then fifth place is a relative of first place winner Jack with the same last name, which I'm not going to butcher again, but it's Dziduch. And then sixth place is Larry, another name I can't pronounce, Mazalatis.
That's Mazalatis, Eddie Mazalatis. Congratulations on sixth place.
Larry.
What did I say?
You said Eddie.
Eddie, whatever. All right, Knee Deep Club, you need to step the game up and come into the, what century are we in? I don't even know. Whatever.
Put Joe in charge. He'll fix everything.
Moving on, as Chris said, we fished on a reservoir on Friday night. We went for crappies. We got a call last minute from Chuck Manny to go striper fishing on Saturday. We agreed to definitely go. It's about time. We were actually invited last year to go with Chuck. Chris got to go. I didn't.
Hold on a second. You're just gonna skip over the entire part where we fished late
No,
into
I'm
the
I'm
night?
telling the whole story.
Okay.
Getting there. I missed fishing with Chuck last year because I had to walk in my cousin's ALS walk, who's no longer with us this year. So to actually finally get to go with Chuck was kind of like emotional because of why I missed it last time. So we finally agreed to it, made it happen. We've been invited by him before, but it just didn't line up. But we already committed to going with some friends to fishing Friday night for crappie. But we agreed that we were going to be off the water at 11 p.m. I have to get home. I have an hour ride home. I have to get shit ready to be on Chuck's boat. I got to get to my son's T-ball game and get right to Chuck's boat. And then, like, other people are telling me when they got invited by Chuck Manny, they, like, slept in the street to make sure they weren't late. So now I'm saying, oh, shit. So whatever. We got to be there on time, right? So we have Kevin, Max, and Luke on another boat. Me and Chris are crappie fishing. They're somewhere else on the lake. Me and Chris give up. We caught maybe, like, I would say 7 to 10 crappies, no big ones, and we were done. We were giving up. It's pretty much time to go home.
Well, we tried a couple of different things. The goal was to catch
one
the
beast,
really big crappie, and we were just catching the normal sized ones, and it didn't really work out.
So we're heading into the boat launch, and of course, we get a call from Max, and they are seeing fish bombing the surface on top water. So, of course, now we have to ride over there. You can't go home. We ride over there. There's fish bombing everywhere.
I did, just for the record, I may have only implied it, but I did kind of offer you an out right there. I said I could drop you off and then I'd just go.
I can't leave so whatever. I can't walk. I'm already there. Like, oh God, you're just there, and now there's these giant hybrids busting the surface. How do you leave? How do you go home? Like,
I mean, I wasn't gonna go.
Yeah, so we ended up stuck there until what, 2:30, I think, maybe, or 2.
I think you started complaining around 1.
Yeah, and then we left by 2.
And then I kept you there for another hour.
Yeah, Chris boated what'll probably be the new skillful angler leader at 25 inches. I think you're gonna knock me off the board.
It was. I don't think it made it to 25, and I don't know what the current leader is.
The current leader's me and Katie Lynn tied at 24.5. So that fish is gonna beat us.
Yeah, bigger than.
And the other boat, with Max and Luke and Kevin, did really well. So we ended up having a good night, but it led to really, like, I had to fish on Chuck Manny's boat, high intensity madness like I've never experienced before on very little sleep.
You had no idea what you were getting into. I at least had
no idea, man. I came home and, like, my wife was like, she was like, how was it? And I was like, it was like, I can't, like, I've been striper fishing, man. Like, I've been striper fishing and I know how to striper fish. Like, I'm confident. Like, I'm, like, confident in my striper fishing abilities. This guy would make me look like a circus clown. Like, I've never seen striper fishing at that level. Monster. At one point, we had 5 fish on over 40 pounds, and he's complaining that the fishing is slow. It just pandemonium. Giants on the deck. Like, in the videos, you could see there's cows, like 45 to 50-inch long giants just flopping on the deck while they're trying to get other ones in the boat. Other rods are going off.
And we're like, and we're like trying to, like, we like that 5 fish on a time. I mean, that was ridiculous. You had two
twice it happened
right after another.
2 times. The one time was 5, and one time was 4.
And I mean, it's all on video. Joe doesn't even know what to do with the video. It's
There's
just
so much video.
it's just hours of video of like multiple rods going off, multiple guys hooked up to giant stripers at the same time. And I mean like a 30-pound striper comes into the boat and he's calling it a small fish. I'm like, Chuck, just stop. I'm like, it's a small fish only here. This is the only place. Like, guys would kill for just that one, the ones you call small.
It was just, and him himself as a person, like I've said about Dave All, like Dave All is just unbelievable from, meeting. That Chuck is like that, like unbelievable energy. Like as soon as you stepped on the boat, like he made everyone feel like we're all one team and working together. It was just, you felt comfortable with him. He was just fun. The stuff he was telling you was just amazing.
And every single fit, like he's caught countless numbers of these big stripers. Like how many over 50 did he say?
Oh God, I remember.
Like 130
Yeah,
something.
131, I think. 131 fish. It might be 137 over 50 pounds in New Jersey. He ain't counting other states.
Oh, really? Whatever. Either way, every fish, every time a rod bent over, every time we hooked up, like he was excited, like he's going nuts.
Nuts.
And it's all on video too. Like hopefully we could put together some kind of cool, like maybe a couple of shorter videos or something just so people could see like how awesome it is. I don't know how else to explain it. And you know what else? And he's been on the show before. Anyone who's listening to this, and you can go back in our episodes. We don't ever take any episodes down. We have everything from the very first episode we ever did with Eddie Mackin. Who do we have after? Justin Lerner's in there, one of the first couple episodes talking about trout fishing in New Jersey. And I mean,
yeah, there is a Chuck Time and Manny interview in the earlier stages.
That's kind of how we ended up meeting him. And
I actually made a post about that online, like thanking people because we've gotten an opportunity to fish with a lot of these people because of this project. And, we are thankful for it. It really is overwhelming.
Yeah, and I hope that other people are using the platform and the conversations and stuff to kind of link up with other guys too and making new fishing buddies and whatever, all that. But what I was going to say is the coolest thing about Chuck and all these, like he catches all these giant fish, he gets excited every time. But the coolest thing is if you want to know something, how to do it, he will literally tell you whatever you want to know. Like when we go fishing with someone, especially now Chuck's not a guide, but especially if we go with a guide, like when we went with Tim Keebler, Fin Seeker Guide Service on the Delaware, and we're like, we'll make a video. He's like, yeah, that's cool. That's awesome, because it's gonna give him some exposure too. And we always say, like, just let us know if there's anything you don't want filmed or talked about, and Tim was cool too. He pretty much let us film everything, and there was nothing really that he needed to keep a secret. But Chuck literally said to you, I think he said,
yeah,
dude, he said you could sell lessons about what I'm doing here and film every little piece of it and show whoever you want, write a book about it and sell it. He didn't give a shit.
I always ask because I don't like to just bring the camera. I said, is there anything you don't want on film? And he said, nope. I don't care if you sell this, how to do it. I don't give a shit.
And
he doesn't care.
He does seminars and he tells people how to do it. And what's crazy to me, and we were talking about this, the amount of guys out there doing it is not that many. How
what though?
Have a resource like Chuck Manny willing to literally tell you how to target trophy stripers, like world-class trophy stripers right here in New Jersey. World-class. No exaggeration. And people aren't taking advantage of it, and I can't wrap my head around it.
I think, first of all, it from an outside perspective, just looking at it, it looks fairly simple. But when you break down the actual logistics of what's happening, it's not simple at all.
No.
He has to basically dedicate his almost entire life to striper fishing. He spends a lot of time maintaining that bait to make sure he has it. He has to spend a lot of time on gear because he's ripping through gear. He's not a charter captain like we said. He's a regular guy. And also the knowledge of what he's been doing. He's been doing it for 30 years or 40, however long he's been doing it. It's taken him to perfect it to where he has now. I don't think you would sit in his seminar and go out on a boat and just replicate it that easily.
No.
It would take many, many years to. It's not as easy as it looks. I think that's why Chuck knows he could just be like, "Go ahead, here's how you do it." He knows that. I mean, listen, I love it. I'm not putting a swimming pool of eels up in my garage though. Like I'm not that dedicated to it like that. He is. He knows I'm not going to do that shit, so he doesn't care.
But I mean, look, take our buddy Matt, for example. He met Chuck years ago, and he wanted to learn how to do this. And Chuck took him out, showed him a lot of stuff, and Matt took all the information. Like, he actually wanted to learn. He didn't just want to go fishing once and experience it. He wanted to learn how to do it himself. And he'll be the first to tell you, he keeps trying to learn, and he keeps trying to keep up with Chuck, and he does well.
Matty Loisel's the only boat that I've ever been on that that does that same shit and has, it's been successful. I've caught some big fish with Matty too. It's obviously on a smaller scale because Matt's boat's a little smaller, not as many rods and stuff. But
right,
I've never fished with anyone else that does it other than Matty. When I got on Chuck's boat, I kind of had like an idea of what it was because I had done it on Matt's boat. But yeah, Matt does it well. I mean, but yeah, Matt has to put the same kind of effort into that. Taking care of all the stuff that he needs, and it's a lot, man. I mean,
and he won't give himself enough credit. I think he'll kind of be like, oh God, like the other day, he's like, oh God, you guys fished with Chuck Manny. Now you're not going to want to come with me. No, it's not like that.
No,
I will say though, Chuck and fishing with Chuck and Matt has pretty much ruined me from other striper fishing. I find it hard to go striper fishing in the bay anymore.
I mean, I'm going fishing tomorrow with Jerry and Jen and Mike K for stripers in the bay. I mean, it is what it is. It's what we've always done. I'm not going to say no.
If you're talking, you're going to hang out with friends and shit. That's different. But I'm saying if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to go striper fishing in the bay, or do you want to go fluke?"
I wouldn't pay. Yeah. If you asked me to go on a 6-pack charter for stripers, no, I wouldn't go ever. Never. I'm going with Chuck Manny or nowhere.
No, the charters. Well, most of the charters ain't doing this.
But yeah, if you invited me still into the back bay to cast shads and shit with my, lighter gear, diamond jigs, and I had nothing to do, I would go. I mean, I'm not going to turn it down.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about if there's other options. Like, I'm going to pick another option.
Oh yeah, I'd probably fluke. I'd go fluking. Yeah, if there's fluke around, I definitely would fluke.
It just kind of. I will. If anyone really loves casting, lures for stripers in the back bay, maybe don't try to do this because if you're successful, it might just ruin you.
I mean, how do you feel about this past week? I mean, Pastorino's basically praised as like the best bottom fish captain, and Chuck's praised as the goat of stripers, and you fished with both of them like 4 days apart.
I mean, what else can you say? It's fucking awesome. I mean, it's awesome.
That's your comment.
What else am I supposed to say about it? It's fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I am tired, though. I'm tired.
I'm good, dude. I don't know where I get this energy from. I have a seemingly like limitless amount of energy. I'll probably just drop dead one day, probably while filming a stupid podcast.
It's possible.
But until then, yeah, like I'm good. I was a little physically tired because it was pretty rough out there. And like the whole balancing and like you're fighting the fish, you're getting banged up because a rogue swell comes, knocks you
and
on.
Plus, we were on board with two. We got to make 2 new friends. Well, I got to make 2 new friends. I don't know if you, Chris, you knew them, one of them already. I never met Alex or Caesar.
Yeah, I had already fished on Chuck's boat with Alex.
Alex.
And,
so
we've talked, and we haven't been able to time it to go fishing locally, but we all, me, him, and Chuck all live pretty close to each other, so we try to fish with each other. It doesn't seem to. Chuck's usually flying to Hilton Head, and
yeah, Chuck usually like texts me like, "Hey man, I know it's short notice, but can you be down in South Carolina within 7 hours?" And I'm like standing in work reading the text like, what? Like, holy shit, this guy's nuts. But I got to meet Alex and Caesar
half the time, even for this trip, right? After he asked us if we wanted to come, we get a call from him, and he goes, "Just so you guys know, there's 6-footers. It could be really rough. We might not even be able to go out. The weather doesn't look good."
Yeah, well, it did get kind of snotty. I don't think it got as that bad, but it was better than what I expected. But
I think
the point of it was, I guess Caesar and Alex, I guess they get to fish on Chuck's boat with them a lot, so you could tell that they were, even Caesar and Alex like wanted me and Chris on the reel. So like me and Chris were like really on the reel a lot. And reeling in them big fish. I mean, some of those fish, when I go back to the video, it's a 20, 25-minute fight to, I know the guy on Facebook is going to.
Not one fish. That was the whole, like, 5-fish spread that was that long.
Yeah, but during that 5-fish spread, Alex, Caesar hooks the first one, and he lands it last.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the monster fish, like the video took 21 minutes. Like I know the guy on Facebook, he's going to say just tighten the drag up and rip the fish in, but it don't work like that. Ridiculous, you idiot. Like, just don't comment on my shit ever again, you dumb asshole. But I'm on Chuck Manny's boat.
Dude, I love these guys. I love commenting to them. It's so entertaining to me.
What I'm saying is the way it's set up is the drag is set somewhat loose. If you start reeling on the fish and and it's not spinning, that's fine. That just means you're just holding the fish, tiring it out. It'll start to click in when the fish starts to move towards the boat. There's no reason to try to tighten up on them and get them to move. You just wait. Caesar had to tell me 5 times on the boat, just relax, just hold them there, because the first couple I broke a few off. One of them just unluckily just went flying through the rocks and cut the whole line. But as I settled in, you have to just hold them, let them run. I counted when fighting them. They do 4 to 5 really good runs, like 4 to 5 solid runs. Like around 5, they're done. But they give you a couple good ones.
I don't know. These guys think it's like tuna fishing where you're using like 60-pound line and you could just kind of like try to horse these things in or no. I'm not really sure.
And it's not a J hook either. They're not hooked in the asshole like you're used to when you go fishing.
No, you got to use the circle hooks because you're using eels. And
Dude, that monster fish Caesar caught, like the hook was like it was like it was on by like this much, like.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest fish that was on like that. Like it's so easy to lose them.
I think most of these fish just come unhooked real easily because they're just hooked right in the corner of the mouth, just right on the outside, and they pop right out with your hand. I think only one of them got hooked deeper with the circle hook, and I think Chuck's leader was only 30 pounds, if I'm not mistaken.
30, he said, yeah.
I mean, you got 30-pound leader with a 40-pound fish. You kind of got to be careful. I mean, maybe a couple of the fights you're showing. I don't know what video was on there. Maybe could have got a couple more clicks tight on the drag, but you can't just tighten that drag down. You got to kind of.
What's the hurry? Is there a hurry to rush the fish in? I mean, it just increases the chance of losing the fish. Well, what's the hurry? There's no hurry.
None. I mean, the fight. For these fish to have, someone mentioned the fish dying after a long fight. I mean, the water's still cold. The water's still cold, and we're talking about 10, 15-minute fights here. It was, I would say that on average the fights were
10, 15 average
minutes. It was that one. I think he had that on a spinning reel, right? He had that on one of the spinning setups.
I don't remember. I mean, I was able to catch. I think I was able to, because Chuck has both setups out. I was able to fight 2 fish, I think, on a spinning setup, and thank goodness they were kind of on the smaller side, because if like a couple of those monster cows on the the casting setups, if they would have been on the spinning rod, it would have just been like, holy shit. But I think Alex caught a pretty giant one off a spinning rod on the front. I gotta look back.
Dude, there's so many big fish caught.
Yeah, there's just big fish tracking everywhere.
I couldn't keep track. I don't know what pictures or what. It was a great time. It was awesome. There's all kinds of video that
we will continue to slowly get through the pictures and the videos and get them out as time goes by. We're kind of like behind right now, but we'll catch up. Chris is
I think a lot of these guys, I think the comments that they were making was based off of like a big striper in the bay. And we've done all that. This may as well be a different species of fish, if I'm being completely honest. It may as well be a completely different species of fish. It may as well be it's a completely different fishery. It is no comparison to fishing the bay, trolling the bay, casting lures in the bay, and you catch some big fish in there.
No, and we had also kind of the first area where we had started, which was pretty phenomenal, and we put like maybe fish to like 43 pounds up, 44 pounds. And then we took like a ride. Remember, Chris? Like he took a ride to a second area.
Yeah.
And the second area, the fish kind of went up, right? Oh, they got bigger, they got longer. So like they seem to like be in like these size packs.
And he called it too. He literally said, I looked at my log before today, and my log said that when this one spot kind of starts lacking on the production of like the size that I want, this next spot is where they'll be. It was like Ruth calling a home run, dude.
And for some, and we also, the other time we kind of had like, me and Caesar had lost a couple fish. Caesar was like getting pissed off too, and like Chuck set the boat up for the drift, and he's like, wouldn't it be amazing if all 5 rods went? We just got 5 right now, and wouldn't you know it? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like they just went 5 fish on that drift. Like Chuck called it perfectly. He's in the middle of the boat, banging on the boat with a pool cue. Am I allowed to say that?
I don't know.
Oh shit! All right, let's go to the carp fishing thing with Modoski.
Yeah, just cut to that. But Also, don't forget, I mean, my favorite part of the whole striper fishing experience is what does Chuck use in the middle of his spread, Joe?
Chuck uses bobbers. He used a bobber. I caught, I think my biggest one, right, Chris, was on the bobber.
That I don't remember, but I know he caught
I'm
quite
pretty sure that
a
one that
fish floating a bait out on a bobber as we drifted.
yeah. He has a lot of different bobbers too on the boat. So
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't like bobbers, please feel free to tell Chuck Manny how the bobbers don't work.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tell him I sent you.
let's see if we could get Mark Modoski in here to talk about carp fishing. Okay, so our guest is finally arrived. Me and Chris basically have been pestered for a while to do a carp episode. Um, So we're doing a carp episode, and no other person that we could really think of to bring on to do the carp episode would be better than Mr. Catfish on the Lake himself, Mark Modoski, who actually taught me how to do real carp fishing.
Well,
Mark, welcome back to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast.
It's nice to be here. Thank you. I do have to say real quick that the real true carp master, which I learned everything from, is Sax Matt Janishevsky. So, but I guess he was playing a wedding.
I don't know what he
yeah.
was doing. Yeah,
No,
he was
I asked him first. You were sloppy seconds. I definitely asked him first. He couldn't do it. So and then I called you second. Joe was trying to save your feelings, but you know.
I got no feelings.
He doesn't care.
Feelings.
He cares less than any human I know, probably. Mark,
Less than me?
no. Now, what we're talking about, like carp fishing, going down to the pond with a can of corn, some Wonder Bread, everyone does that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking real carp fishing. I remember when I was with you, you were actually like stopping at a certain spot once a week to bait it, consistently bait it. There's a lot more shit that goes into this that people don't know about. You want to delve into some of that?
Yeah, so there's what a lot of people don't realize, and look, you can catch carp, anywhere with a hook, a piece of bread, a piece of corn. Yeah, you'll catch them every once in a while, but if you want to consistently catch like gigantic 20, 30, even 40-pound carp, like there's a little bit of trickery that goes into it, or a little knowledge that goes into it. So there is a carp community. Like, you think like musky anglers are crazy. These carp guys, like Polacks like me, I can say that, and Russians, like they will kill you over a carp spot. Like, if they put out a swim, which is, we call your area where all your bait is your swim, and you step on somebody's toes and they'll beat the shit out of you, and they're all liquored up on vodka. So you gotta be careful about where you're fishing especially if you're on one of these tidal rivers in New Jersey. So Delaware River, that type of thing.
Now, our goal usually is to try to help people get into fishing and make them feel more comfortable about trying new things. You just scared the shit out of anyone who wants to try carp fishing. And just real quick, I just want to touch on this before we really get into like the details of carp fishing. I mean, are you going to get your ass kicked if you tell us some tricks to carp fishing?
I will. I know which of Sax Matt's greatest secrets to protect. So there's things that I will definitely not be disclosing. So
he seemed most concerned with the spots, and I told him we don't talk about spots.
We don't do that.
Definitely will not even mention where he fishes, anywhere near it. So
I don't want to know where anyone fishes. We just want to know if someone has seen carp in a spot and they want to get into it and not just throw in corn and catch a couple of regular sized ones. That's what we're aiming for. But real quick, before we even get into that, I wanted to touch on the fact that, have you ever had a discussion with someone, because I have, about carp being a game fish or not? Now, obviously, like out in Europe, it's a big game fish.
Mm-hmm.
Here, a lot of guys don't consider it a game fish.
It's number one. It's the game fish of England.
Oh yeah, in Europe, and it's absolutely the number one game fish. You know, it's the fish are really pressured and they're tough to catch, but like it's absolutely above pike and even above like Wells catfish. You know, they carp in you know, in Europe. So, but
so like, where's the disconnect here? Like, it's a fish that fights hard. It takes skill to catch it, and even I actually had an argument with a guy. He refused to acknowledge the carp as a game fish, but turns out he bow fishes for them. I said, dude, you're fishing for them for sport. How does that not make it a game fish?
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, I think it's just one of those things, you know, like Americans don't like soccer, you know, and American fishermen don't think carp, which is absolutely dumb to me, because like people will go fish for stock trout in a pond that like are 9 inches long, and meanwhile there's 15-pound carp swimming around. So to me, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Do you ever feel like the rod and reel? Just for people that don't know, in the state of New Jersey with bow fishing, as far as I know, the carp is the only fish you can bow fish, and plus the invasive species. But do you ever? I've heard before the carp fishermen say that they're at a major disadvantage at catching big fish because the bow fishermen shoot them first.
Absolutely. There's look, the populations of carp are huge. But you know, absolutely, the bow fishermen take a ton of fish. I mean, you see some of those like pictures of them laid out on the. I mean, that's got to do. They do that, you know, night in and night out. That's got to.
I guess when you're doing like the sight fishing thing, it's obviously easier to see the giant ones, so they get picked off more than the you know. I guess that sucks, kind of.
Yeah, it does suck, but you know, number one, there's always going to be big fish around. Sometimes they might just be a little tougher to get to, and you know, like where I fish, the bow fishermen can't get there. So you know, it's you know, there's always going to be a possibility to catch a big fish. So
is there, just off the record, or is there any possibility actually that spot is going to get like revived back to life? Like, because I know that spot, that like your spot. You're going to bring it back?
Oh, I'm going to fish there.
Really?
The end of this month in June. Yeah, I'll still fish there. Nobody knows about it. So
can I come?
Yeah, come, man. I don't live around the corner anymore, but you know,
I know this. Well, that spot's not far from me.
That's one of my favorite things to do in late May and June. It's the biggest fish I've caught out of there. I've caught a few 30-pound fish in the same day, like a 36-pound fish, and that's the biggest fish I've ever caught. So
I think I got like a 24-pound one there, or a 22, something. I got a decent fish.
Yeah, just as long as you go in like May or June at a high tide, because where I go, the fish can't get up there when the water's low. But you just see them creeping up there. I mean, places just. But you know, I know other good spots that are just like little ponds that have, you know, 15, 20-pound carp in them. You know, you hook into a 20-pound male carp, okay, and it's a trip, you know, especially if it's in a small pond. You see the back just waking across the pond. I love them, man. You know, they're fucking huge. You know how many times I've pulled a 15-pound carp out of a little, you know, county pond, and there's some lady walking by me with her kid, like, you know, eyes pop out of her head.
Let me ask.
It'll suck the kid's foot off or something if they go swimming in there.
When it comes down to the actual tackle of carp fishing, it kind of gets complicated. There's an argument on the table that it's actually the smartest fish. They have videos of carp possibly using their fins to feel for fishing line. It gets crazy. I've watched your evolution of carp tackle. I've even watched you go through using those boilies from England with the pin and the bobbin, and you gave me some. That's not even what you use anymore. You moved on to the pack baits. And what was your evolution of going from corn kernels to where you are now? in the tackle end?
Zach's Matt. I just I fished with Zach's Matt a bunch. He was privy enough and nice enough to take me to his home, and just after a while, and it's a lot of trial and error then on my own, screwing up, making the pack bait too dry, making it too wet. And then it's really just about, look, you can carp fish with almost any rod, but if you're really going to get serious about carp fishing, you want a carp rod. And they sell you the most inexpensive carp rod, if they still make them, is called a Daiwa Mad Dragon. And they're just very particular rods. They don't have anything on the butt, but they're as long as a surf rod, but they have a lot of bow. So when you're throwing these huge, like the pack bait is like the size of a softball, so when you're throwing those baits, you can't have anything that's too stiff that's going to make that bait fly off. So a proper carp rod that's 11 to 13 feet long is what I use. Also, Akuma has it's called the rock something. It's like a saltwater rod, but I found those things are really good. And then just a saltwater size bait caster, bait runner reel, because you want those fish to feel the least amount of resistance, and you want them to be able to run with the bait. So,
I mean, if somebody can't afford a bait runner, they could just fish with the bail open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much.
Yeah, if you leave the bail open and it gets annoying with the wind and stuff, but if you could, I don't know, some guys may not know about this real simple trick. I was doing it the other day. You just pop a rubber band over the line on the spool, so it'll hold the line there. If the wind blows or whatever, it'll keep your line nice and firm-ish. But then if something takes it, that rubber band just pops right off and it's free spooled. So,
well, can you try, Mark, to explain for people listening that don't know what we're kind of talking about? Can you try to explain the English method of how the boilies work and there's no hook in the bait? Can you just try to explain it?
Yeah, I don't use boilies much because what I do now is work so well. But boilies are mostly fished. I think they're all fished on what they call a hair rig, and which it is a tiny, tiny hook. And then there's a little piece of braid coming off of here. And you take your boilie, and you buy all these tools on carp sites, and there's a tool that you poke a hole in the boilie, and then there's a threader. You stick the threader through, and there's a little loop at the end of that string. And you pull that loop through the boilie, and then there's a little plastic stop that you stick in there and tighten it so the boilie doesn't fly off of the hair rig. I've never had luck with boilies and hair rigs. I think,
but it's that's the number one thing that they're using over there, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. They make their own boilies. They put all kinds of flavors in them. I think that's pretty much
I have 3 of those rigs brand new in the package that you gave me. That they have the Euro price tag on them. They're not from this. I don't know where you got them, but I still have them.
He gave them to you because they don't work. You don't use them anymore.
That's true, yeah. But I don't know how he got them, though. Did he go there?
There's a couple carp sites, big carp tackle, or that sell it. It's all this stuff's from Europe,
Right. And I've made a couple of hair. I use a hair rigs with corn if I'm fishing a pond or something. And you can make your own you basically just snell a hook with braid and leave a long tag in. Then you tie a little loop on it about, however, if you want to use 3 pieces of corn, you kind of want the loop that far past the hook, right? And then I don't have a threader either, where I just straighten out an old hook and leave the barb on it, stick it through the corn. I loop the barb onto the little piece of braid there, and I slide the corn on, and then I find a stiff piece of grass or something to peg it on the end, and just I've had success with that. If you don't have to go out and spend money on it necessarily if you want to do that technique.
Mark, do you remember when you snagged the carp on Mountain Lake?
Oh my God, I thought it was a muskie. Oh God,
like when Modoski had originally started his quest for a muskie, like we used to fish out of this 10-foot plastic boat that I had, like a pond hopper. It's all I had.
Yeah.
And we started going muskie fishing with it. Like we didn't get one the first few tries, and like he's throwing this giant bulldog with like the big curly tail.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the rod doubles over, like, and we're like, holy shit, we got one. We're cheering, we're going nuts. It's like this thing is peeling. He's freaking out. I got the net ready, bro. It comes up. It's a giant carp hooked right in the ass. Like it was
by the way,
heartbreaking.
that is not the only time I have hooked a carp in the asshole, by the way. Muskie fishing.
Look, we're not here to talk about all the things you've done to carp's assholes. But, do you think maybe that, like, that story kind of makes me wonder, like, is that maybe where a carp get a bad rap because guys end up snagging them when they're fishing for something else, and then they just kind of get pissed off, like, oh God, it's a carp, even though it has a good fight behind it. I mean, even they'll bite your stuff too sometimes, and you'll fight them head on the right way, and they'll still give you a hell of a fight. I mean, they're right up there with anything else.
Yeah,
They're also going to turn the water brown, though. I mean, they turn the water to shit. That's a proven fact. They have aerial pictures of lakes that are just, they go from clear to brown. No. They have aerial photographs.
You got one photo from Andy Still that's probably propaganda. I don't buy it.
No. They darken the water, no doubt about it. Mark, what do you say?
I think this is the thing. It's, if it's a small pond.
Yeah, like what are we talking about? A little 2-foot pond where kids fish for bluegills?
Yeah, like obviously it's not going to stain fucking a pack Kong, but if you have a small pond that, that has a bunch of carp in it, yeah, dude, that's all they do. Like if you ever watch them feed, they stick their noses in the mud and their tail kicks all the crap up. Like they make a mess of stuff. And I'll tell you this much. If you look at my fishing spot, right? When I start fishing there, it's crystal clear. By the time I'm done fishing there, from all the carp coming in and swimming around, and like the one area is completely muddy.
Where is that?
I'm not telling you.
I know where it is.
It's worth a try.
You sure you're still allowed to go there?
Yeah, I am.
That's awesome. Can I go there?
Not the pay for place, but the other place.
Okay.
Pay for place? What is that?
I haven't even taken you to the good spot.
I go to the shitty spots.
Oh, so Joe thought he knew where it was. He doesn't.
Yeah.
No, I know where it is. I've been there.
Yeah, he knows where it is.
There's pictures of me on Facebook holding fish in that spot. I won't tell anyone as long as you invite me. We saw pictures of you and that freak Dwayne fishing last week. It looks like you guys hammered them on Lake Bacon.
Yeah, we did it right, man. We did.
How did it feel to get back to like fishing for like normal fish again and not, being a baby?
I have to say, look, I like to catch fish. It had been a while. I haven't been able to get down to the Potomac in a bit. Chris and I caught some muskies when I first moved back, but dude, those hybrids are fun, man. And they, we got some nice big hybrids, and that's a blast. But
the whole time you were reeling in the hybrid, you were hoping a muskie would eat it. I know you were.
I knew that wasn't happening.
So Dwayne's getting a reputation for fishing with weirdos. Do you feel
Flying
weird
Dutchman.
do you feel weird after fishing with him?
We're calling his boat the Flying Dutchman because it's where all the rejects get to fish for forever. And they're just damn there for life. So that's the new name of his boat, the Flying Dutchman. We're not sure how you ended up there. You don't belong there. But
yeah. Why you don't think I'm weird?
I like you. I've known you for a long time. Yeah, you're one of the weirdest ones of all, but I like you.
Well, just because you like him, if he's weird, he can go on the Flying Dutchman, no?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he could stay there. No
Dwayne's a good dude. Dwayne knows how to fish. He really knows how to control a boat. He was, super nice. I can't stand fishing with too many people, but like I think the perfect thing is like you just talk the right amount. just people who are like just not silent and it's creepy, or some people who just don't stop and you can't like get up. But no, I had a blast fishing with Dwayne. Really, really.
Have you like gone fishing with people you got creeped by? Has that happened?
Not creeped by, but they were too quiet, but that wouldn't shut the fuck up. Absolutely. Like there's people that I went fishing with them once and they're like, hey, when are we going fishing again? I'm like, never.
Mark, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the podcast as usual. Please make sure you call me to go carp fishing and not.
You want to know how to catch them?
Are you going to tell us?
Yeah.
See, Joe does this all the time. He blows past like the important shit and then just tries to end the episode.
Is there more?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to tell you.
What do you mean?
The rig that I use and what pack bait is all about. And like I said, you can make this as simple or as complicated as you want. This is what they call a pay lake rig. And Sax Matt told me this. He told me I could put it in magazine once, so he knows I know that it's okay to do this. But
as long as the Polish mafia is not gonna murder you or something.
So when I spool with 50-pound braid, okay, and then I put a fluorocarbon leader that's probably 6 feet long, so the part by my bait is invisible, okay. And first I made the bait that you don't. So the hook bait, which is the bait that you actually put on your hook, is corn puffs. Okay, I forget who makes them. It's something Mills, but they're just plain little corn puffs, almost like corn pops. Okay, you get for $2, and then so that's the hook bait. That's what goes on your hook. Okay, and then there's pack bait. Okay, with pack bait to make it, you make, and you're going to have to play around with this to get it right at first. But you take a shitload of oatmeal, fill about a third in a 5-gallon bucket. And then you take creamed corn, okay, and you use that and stir it up with your hand. It's going to make your hand all sticky. You're going to be close to the water and stir it up, and then until you can mold it, okay. And so, what you want to mold that around, there's different types of sinkers, but this is called a method sinker, okay. This is a method lead, and this is what I use because the pack bait holds pretty well on this weight.
So it's got little grooves and stuff.
So you put your fluorocarbon line through here, okay? And then this comes out here, and then you just want literally like a 4-inch leader, with a tiny barrel swivel that's strong and a number 1 hook, okay? So now you're going to have this hook about right here and this big ball of pack bait, okay? So now what's going to happen is that puff will float, okay? So what happens is you cast it into the water. The pack bait is all going to crumble off here. So you're going to have this pile of chum sitting there, and then you're going to have this little puff sitting above the pile of chum, okay? And to make the puff flavorful and to get some scent on it, they sell these cake flavorings. Just Google cake flavorings, and they come in these tall bottles. And, there's like peach and cherry and, that you could, just dip the puff in, and that'll give you the flavor. So, and look, I've messed around with a million different things, and then slowly and surely I just learned to do what Sax Matt does. I am not going to tell you his number 1 flavoring. For that, he will kill me. But you'll get a good start with the cake flavorings. So.
See, I tried to end the show because I never thought you were going to give all that away. You just gave it all away. That was it. I mean, you gave it up.
Yeah, the most important thing is finding the fish. I asked Sax Matt about if I could put this, and I think I wrote an article and put that rig in Field and Stream. It's called a pay lake rig because, down further south, they have all these pay lakes where you pay to fish. And there's all these huge carp in there. They're overstocked, But because there's so many people fishing there, and there's so much fishing pressure, they have to do something that's really going to catch the attention of the fish. So that's where this lake rig was derived. It's called a pay lake rig. So,
and like the idea behind it, it's so simple, but it's pretty cool. You basically have a micro targeted chum pile right now. It's directly where your hook bait is. And I'm kind of surprised, like, how come like cat fishermen don't do something like this with like a mushy, like liver meat flavored pack ball and just put that out? Like, why not?
Actually, that's a really good question.
Well, I'm starting to see online they're selling like little inline caged balls that you could
Actually, you know what? You're right. They are.
And you could fill them with stuff. Instead of a pack bait, you fill this little caged ball, and then you got your hook right by it. You know, it's like a little chum pot right on the line.
Yeah, similar.
I'm starting to see those. I don't know if they work, but I have seen them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking something like that probably work pretty awesome for like sea bass too.
I'm surprised that you just gave all that up. I never thought you were going to say all that. That's like the Modoski like witch brew that I watch you mix your filthy hand in, and then you're just all gooky for the day.
Sticky.
Covered in cake flavoring.
But yeah, you know, I still have the carp bag downstairs. You know, Chris, we can blindfold you and drag you through the woods, and if you want to join us as well.
Chris has that cool like electric thing that you turn it on, and if the line starts running, it starts beeping.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know what? I should sell one more thing. Yeah, you actually can buy those. You can buy them on Carp sites. But the one thing I should mention too is what I do is I have for each rod, I have 2 of those stick rod holders. I have ones from Carp sites that are like adjustable, and they could be a little expensive, but you could just get 2 regular plastic, fucking desk. Yeah, and I put so here are the 2, things, the 2 forks, and I just lay the rod horizontally, so the line is horizontal to the water. So I have the line's now coming horizontal through the rod, the bait runner's open, and these fish have just the least amount of resistance whatsoever, because if they feel like any kind of significant resistance, they're going to drop the bait.
We'll try to pop a picture of your rod. I've seen it. We'll see if we could pop a picture of it up. But yeah, the rods lay flat and the line runs free. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen the Carp guys set up like that. It makes sense. I do have one question though. So, and this was I've used this same. I fished with Sax Matt as well. I wasn't aware we were allowed to talk about any of this, but since you did it, it's your fault. So. But he tried explaining it to me once, and it kind of made sense. But so you got that really short leader coming from the weight to the hook, and you have a pretty heavy weight. And he kind of explained that that weight's heavier than it needs to be, maybe because you want it to kind of set the hook for you, or start setting the hook for you before you get to it.
Yeah.
Did I understand that correctly, or?
Yeah, you do understand correctly. So, that like I said, the little tiny barrel swivel literally sticks in this hole,
Yeah.
This is, tight to that, and it is a heavier weight. So really what happens is if you have to use really sharp hooks, I think, is it Owner or so makes it's a Mosquito Light. I think I've used those before, but carp have really, really sensitive mouths, and they have really, really soft mouths. So what happens is they'll feel that prick. Okay, they'll feel that tiny little pinch when they feel that hook, and then they'll just turn around and run away. So while this weight is sitting there, it gives some tug back and gets it like a little bit buried in their mouth. And then I don't even set the hook on them. Like they're so strong that, I just pick the rod up and I just, pull it up.
come tight to them.
Is it an octopus hook?
No, it's not an octopus hook. Actually, yes, you can use an octopus hook.
What kind of hook is it? Like what shape?
I think I do use octopus hooks. It's like just
Oh,
a one. It's either, I think it's a one hook or one or a 1.0, but just I think it's about the size of a dime.
okay.
I don't think I don't know. What's the difference between a mosquito hook and an octopus hook? They got like a slightly different shape. I still don't
I think it's an angle. There's like an angle on it.
And it's the name. It's just a different name. And if you're a bass angler, you have to have all the different names. So it's just something else we don't have to buy.
All right, Chris. Now Chris has to end the show now because I refuse to.
I got to end it. Mark, do you have anything else that you want to tell us about carp fishing?
I mean, just give it time. All right. Give it time, because there's nothing cooler than, going to a little county park and catching a 20-pound fish. They fight like hell. If you get them at the right time of year, you can get a big fat female that could be 30 plus pounds. And, and look, it's like muskie fishing a little bit. I mean, I think you'll catch a lot more carp than you will muskies, but it takes time. You have to put in your time to catch big fish. And so, if you're somebody who would rather catch a few less fish, but catch some bigger fish, I mean, you have to give it some time. It's awesome. It's awesome fishing.
Yeah.
They're one of the strongest fighting fish. I'm not totally sure where they get this bad rap from. I mean, the like propaganda pictures like Joe was talking about. I know the picture you're talking about. It doesn't matter. Like, it's only going to make a difference in a shit ass shallow lake or a real shallow big cove or something like that. Like Mark said, they're not.
If you take like a
real lake,
if you take a lake like Shepherd's Lake in Ringwood, what has a swimming lake, it's like a fair sized lake. If you put carp in there, that lake turns to shit. Turns to shit brown water.
Why? Because it's 4 feet deep?
No, just because that's what carp do.
They're only going to ruin the lake if the whole lake's shallow.
I'm not saying they're going to ruin the lake. They're not going to ruin the lake. They're just going to change the color of the water.
How long have you guys been married for?
What?
How long have you guys been married for?
All right, that's it. All right, Mark, thank you for coming on. Mark, hopefully we go fishing for carp.
You got
Text me.
I will.
Seriously, though, all kidding aside, thank you.
You got it. You're very welcome, guys. That was a pleasure.
That's a lie, but thanks for coming on.
So that was Mark Modoski. Hopefully we will be carp fishing with Mark soon. We're going to wrap this up. That was a pretty long show. Hopefully you gained some carp knowledge. I'm really shocked that Mark actually revealed all that shit. I really was stopping the show because I never thought he was going to go into that, but he pretty much gave exact directions on what he does. So,
I mean, he said he's put it in a magazine before, so I mean,
I've watched him do it, and I've said to myself, "Holy shit!" What? I never thought that when he was like, "Oh, I'm never gonna say," like all he didn't reveal was one single cake flavoring. Like he gave you guys everything else. So if you follow what those guys do, trust me, you will catch fish, and the fish are big too.
It's an awesome fishery. I mean, there's not much else to say. I mean, if you've already convinced yourself that they suck and you hate them, then
is it actually in New Jersey still considered an invasive species like a flathead and snakehead?
No,
it's
absolutely
not, right?
not. Absolutely
so it's
not.
a game fish then. Is there a state record carp?
Yes.
Then it's a game fish.
So here's the thing: when it comes to what's a game fish, what's not, it's really just an opinion. It's like an aura. It's what's an example? I mean, it depends on the person, really. It's not like.
I mean, when a fish shows up when a fish that only lives in China all of a sudden shows up in a waterway, and then starts to multiply. I mean, that could be potentially a major problem. It's not something that could just, some people like them. I mean, it can't be ignored.
You're talking about a common carp?
No, I'm talking about it has to at least be investigated upon. You can't just say, "Oh, well, some guys like fishing for them." It might actually be damaging other shit that we do like. There is science involved behind. I'm not,
Well,
playing devil's
common,
advocate
the
basically.
common carp has been here for I don't even know how long
The
enough
co-
that it's
I'm
that's
talking more snakehead and flathead. The carp, I'm considering the carp a game fish, no question. It has a state record. If you don't think it's a game fish, you really don't have an argument. It has a state record. The argument's over right there. If it has a record, it's a game fish.
I looked it up. I looked it up because I was curious because to me, I said if guys, if it's a popular sport to fish for this species, then to me it's a game fish. And it's not as popular as in Europe, but it's plenty popular here. Plenty of guys like to target carp.
If you spray painted them green and they ate cigarette butts, everyone would love them here. It's just ridiculous.
Right. It basically is. Anyway, I looked it up on the internet for whatever that was worth just to see what it said, and it basically said that generally speaking, most anglers in the United States don't consider carp a game fish. Didn't really explain why. So basically, my understanding is it's their opinion that it's not a game fish because they don't care to target it personally. And because more people don't care to target them personally than people do care to target them, that's really the only reason. Whereas in
I
Europe,
get your point. I do understand your point. To me and you, a sea robin isn't a game fish. Is there some guy that takes his boat out on Sundays and goes sea robin fishing? Maybe there is. And to him, I don't know.
But I guess
I've heard of people eating them. There might be a guy that goes sea robin fishing. To that guy, sea robins are a game fish, and that's it.
If taking that argument, then it'd be hard to explain because at that point, it'd be basically any fish can be a game fish, so no fish is a game fish. You know what I mean?
Do you consider a blowfish a game fish? Because there's a lot of Jersey guys that go out just for blowfish.
The only difference would be that how many guys are going out to fish for blowfish just for sport? Or are they trying to fill the cooler?
They're eating them.
So I don't know. To me, a true game fish, you got a significant amount of anglers targeting them just for sport, not always just to fill a cooler and eat them. And for that reason, to me, I wouldn't consider things like sea robins and blowfish to be sport fish.
Okay, I could accept that, I guess. So you're saying if it's something you fish for just strictly to eat it, it's probably not a game fish.
I don't know. You know what? Now that I'm thinking, now you say it like that, I don't know because a deer is game. You're not going out to,
See, hunting is impossible to bring into the conversation because you can't release anything in hunting. You can't. I mean, if you could somehow, is there a possibility we might shoot big bucks and take pictures with them and then let them run off? That could happen. You could have that, but it's not reality. There is no
like tranquilizer hunting.
I don't know exactly how it would work, but no, there is no release in hunting. One of the big magic things about hunting and makes that deer so unique is that once you shot it, it won't ever be shot by anyone else.
I think
we're getting way too deep here, and it's just
let's
too
just
late.
leave it at this.
Yeah,
If you personally fish for any particular species of fish for sport, then it's a game fish to you.
Absolutely.
It may not be a game fish to someone else, but we're just going to leave it at personal opinion, I think.
Fish for anything that makes you happy, except bass. All right, we will be back next week. Everyone have a good night and a good week of fishing. Chris?
Keep suffering for those fish.
There it is. All right. See ya. Good night.
Bobbers rule.
I love bobbers.